Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you your team every single day, guys. So it is press conference day ahead of the Spurs game on Thursday. Still waiting at time of recording. We are still waiting for Philippe Clement to speak to the media. James Tavernier, though, was sent to the to speak to the media as part of the player presser before the game. Now, obviously, some interesting stuff coming out of James Tavernier's interview. He obviously, I think it says, you know, I think it was interesting. Obviously, I think it tells us that James Tavernier will start on Thursday. He will be the starting right back. I think hopefully that means that he won't start in the cup final. I think, when it comes to the cup final, starting Tav up against Maida would be an absolutely massive error from the manager. What did Tav have to say to the media? Like, so what were the bits and pieces to pick out of this media? I mean, obviously, he spoke very much about looking forward to the game, about it being another top big European night at Ibrox, which, Ibrox would be absolutely jumping. And of course it will be jumping. It's Thursday night. It's a European night. Ibrox is always a cauldron on a European night. And certainly hope that from the off, the team give us something to shout about. Tav said that Spurs are a top Premier League team, and a very different type of game that Rangers are expecting. I mean, certainly European football has certainly led to Rangers playing their best football, and I think the situation very much is that going up against Spurs, who will play football and who will try their very best to actually have a game of football rather than turn the game into a fight. There will be no low block, there'll be no spoiling, fouling, ruining the game, trying to turn it into a rugby match rather than a football match from Spurs. So yeah, he's right in the aspect that it's going to be a very different sort of game than we are used to. I think one of the most interesting things to come out of that point, though, that he made there was that he said that the team were very much focused on tomorrow night, as in Thursday night, which, is always going to be the case that he's going to be asked about that. With Celtic coming up on Sunday in the cup final, there's always going to be a danger there that people think that the players will take their eyes off the ball, will look ahead to Sunday, because that is the be-all and end-all. It's understandable. I think there's a lot of fans as well who just want to get tomorrow night out of the way, who don't perhaps care as much about the Thursday night game as we do about the Sunday, which is a perfect natural thing when it is Celtic that we are playing on the Sunday. He was asked as well a little bit about obviously tactics and the change in shape and the change in formation, the change in the way of we've played of recent. He said that we've tweaked tactics a little, and it's really suiting the team. You can see in the performances it's coming at a good stage, but we need to have this throughout the season. We've been clinical lately in front of goal. We have also been doing well as a team to keep clean sheets. We now need to continue that. And I think we have seen a complete change, not complete change, but definitely a tweak in tactics from the manager. We have seen him make changes in that. He he is right in the aspect that there is a big difference, I think, in the way we're playing, that we are playing with more threat now, we are playing with more going forward. I mean, this will, of course, be affected tomorrow night by the fact that there is no Yanis Hadji and there is no Danilo. So there's obviously an interesting selection dilemma for Philippe Clement to get his head around, in this game. But yeah, Tav's right in the aspect that we are looking better in going forward. We have scored more goals. I think it's 15 in the last 5, 14 in the last 4. So, it is a lot more clinical from Rangers, and it's something they do need to continue. The more forward threat we show, the better it will be for the club. So, look, this is right, and it's good to see that Clement has clearly listened and has clearly calculated that what he was doing previously was not working, and there has been a tactical tweak and there has been a tactical change in the way we approach games, and that purely, I think, is showing that Clement, is now learning, and Clement is learning from his mistakes, and hopefully that is showing a change in what the manager is doing. So look, that's it, isn't it? That's what it is. And it's interesting to see the player confirming that there has been a tactical change. And it's, like I said, it was long overdue, wasn't it? And long needed, given the dire, chronic, turgid, boring performances. He was also asked, interestingly, about Dujon Sterling. He said that Dujon and I are really close. We want to push each other, as everyone does for every shirt. We are all in this together. Interesting there, obviously, the journalists trying to spark up the rivalry between Tav and Sterling. Look, I think Sterling is the better right back. I think in terms of being a pure right back, Sterling is is a much better right back than James Tavernier is. Tavernier obviously carries more threat going forward, but Sterling is a lot more solid defensively. For me, I would start Sterling week in, week out. I'd have Tav on the bench. I don't rate Tav anywhere near as good as Sterling, but the manager will pick who he wants to pick, and I think that he will start Tavernier versus Spurs. But as I've said earlier, there is not a chance that in my imagination that we go into that Celtic game with Tav at right back. If we do, I think we get beat. It was interesting as well, another comment that he made. He talked previously about being disappointed at not starting. Bit of a change of tune from him in this interview where he said that you can never expect to start as a footballer. I never expect to start and push myself every single week. I just keep working hard, which is a very much a sea change from what he'd said previously. Maybe the manager's had a word, I don't know, but it's interesting, that comment that he made there. But look, at his age, you cannot expect to start every single game. At 32, going on 33, you realistically cannot expect to be playing every single game. It is just not practical. It is just not possible for a player to do that. And I think, Tav has got to realise that, and I think the manager has realised that. Personally, I think you can use Tav against Dundee, against Hearts, against Hibs, against Ross County, against St Johnstone, but I don't think you can use him in big games. I think that his legs have gone and he cannot cope defensively with the better players, particularly Dyson Maeda, for example. He spoke about the priority that the preparation that they've done. That there's a lot of clips being watched, a lot of prep gone into that, a lot of watching of clips of these players. And I think, that's all good to hear that there has been some preparation, a lot of preparation going into this and a lot of preparing for Tottenham and what Tottenham will bring to this game. I think, you underestimate them at your peril. Yes, Tottenham are not in the best of form at this moment in time. They are not playing very, very well. But at the same point, they can then pull out a 4-0 against Man City or a 4-1, I think it was, against Aston Villa. So they do have it in their locker to be a very good team, but they have lost 7 times this season. So there is very much a Jekyll and Hyde nature to Tottenham, something that I think Tottenham have always had throughout their history. So, look, he's right. It's good, obviously, that we need to have full focus on Tottenham, because we do. If you go into that game tomorrow night, we don't play a 90-minute performance. We start poorly. Tottenham will be 2-3 up by half time and the game will be well and truly over. They have some very talented footballers. He spoke about the fact that, he said it's exciting to be a Rangers player and a Rangers fan. Tomorrow night will be it's an exciting week for Rangers players and Rangers fans. It's in our hands to put performances in and get the rewards. We have to perform well tomorrow against a top team. We have to be really focused. And it is a massive week. Look, we've all said it's a massive week. Spurs in the Europa League, Battle of Britain, and England-Scotland tie, always massive. And then the cup final on Sunday. And if we lose focus, if we don't play for 90 minutes, if we don't show up, it is going to be pretty much carnage in both of those games. He finished by saying that European nights are always the best at Ibrox. The crowd are on top of you, and that is down to us to get them going. We want to make it as hard as possible for Tottenham. And that's right. At the end of the day, Ibrox is a cauldron. Ibrox is an absolute bear pit. If you get it right, if you get the crowd behind you, if you get the crowd going, you can turn Ibrox into a place where it is very, very difficult for players and opposition teams to come and perform, really difficult. And it's up to us to do that tomorrow night, and it's up to us to go from that. But, like James Tavernier said, it is a lot on the players to inspire. If the players go out there and give an absolutely dire first 45 minutes, it's going to quieten the crowd down and going to play straight into Spurs' hands. So it has to be a 90-minute performance. Have to keep Ibrox going. We know that the crowd can be an absolute bear pit for opposition teams. We heard Roy Keane and Gary Neville talk about how Ibrox was one of the most scariest atmospheres they'd ever faced, considering they've been to places like Galatasaray, for example. That is quite the praise indeed. So, look, at the end of the day, he's right. European nights are phenomenal at Ibrox. Right, guys, that was all from Tav. We'll obviously try and keep on top of the Clermont press conference when it takes place and get you news on that as well. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like, sub, and remember always, we are the people.